Hello everyone, Catweazle here. Welcome back to Darkest Night, Turn 3. Why are we at the player area? Well, that's quite easy, because I made a couple of cock-ups. Woo! Right, first thing was, good old wizard, after mentioning about 1,000,000 times during all my plans and stratagems that he would have to lose one secrecy when he attacked that Blight, I didn't take the secrecy off. He did lose a secrecy, but that was due to, I think it was due to an event card or something. So he was on 4, but he should have been on 3, so he's on 3 now. And the other thing was, of course, he did cast Lightning Strike, so that is now exhausted. So, as you can see, I'll just flick it forward like that, just to remind me. What else? Let's get across to the actual map, because there's been a bit of a change there. And here we are back at the board. Except, it's not a board, it's paper. What I realised was, the board is actually slightly smaller than the paper map that they give you. Paper map's still not huge, but it's a little bit bigger. So I'm using the paper map. I just assumed they were the same size, and it was only last night I thought, hang on, the paper map's slightly bigger. But Victory Point Games, you could have made this a bit bigger. It's made out of paper. You know, folds, stuff like that. Could have made it slightly bigger. I think the map's fine. I don't want a huge map. I don't want an Arkham map. But about a third as big again would have been ideal. I know you're thinking about a Kickstarter and stuff like that. If you do, you don't need a massive map, but just slightly bigger. Just slightly bigger. Perhaps a third as big again. Right, so we've got a slightly bigger map, which means it's easier for me to put some of this stuff on. We've done the corrections, so let's have a quick recap on where everybody is. Rathymnon, still in the mountains. He now has the correct secrecy. Although he's down at 3, and the night Cassandra was at 4, and the Necromancer would have spotted them both, he would have still gone to Cassandra. The reason is he could make that in one go. He couldn't get to Rathymnon in one go, so he would have still gone this way. So it doesn't matter that Rathymnon's got less secrecy than Cassandra has. He would have still gone to the village. Okay, talking of the village, obviously we've got Cassandra and Priorus are in the village, and our rogue Talon is here in the forest. Right, so let's crack on with it. Who's going to go first? Well, I think first we're going to have... Let's have Rathymnon go first. So we'll turn him over to Moonside. And what he's going to do is he is going to move across here to the castle. So there he is in the castle. Obviously, the Necromancer wasn't present, he didn't have a holy relic, there was no start of turn instructions on his power cards. Oh, actually, before he moves, he's got to do an event. I thought he was allowed to move before his event, but he's not, because travel is an action. So it's his event first. So let's have a look, let's get him the right way round. Dead Servant, compared to Secrecy. His Secrecy is 3, so we get an Archer. So we've got to defend. We get a 4 or elude with a 4. So let's have a thinky. Right, so Rathymnon, what you got, baby? Well, he's got a tactic. He's going to elude with his invisibility. He can no longer use his lightning strike because it's exhausted. So tactic, We're going to activate it, and he's going to gain 2+2 dice when eluding. So he's already got 1, because you're allowed to elude with 1, so he's going to get 3. That's our read +2. So that's what he's going to do. So this is now active. So we'll put that right on his player mat. So he's going to get 3 dice. So let's move this in a bit so we can see it. 3 dice to elude the archer. We need a 4 or better. And he gets 2. What a star. So we missed the dead servant, the dead archer. Get this off the board. Come on. Right, there we go. We can discard that. Now he can do his action. So he's going to move across to the castle. Now, he gains a secrecy for moving, but he loses it because of the flux cage. So lose 1 secrecy entering and leaving. He doesn't have to defend against it or anything. He just loses 1 secrecy because he's moved in there. But he did gain 1 for actually moving, so no net gain or loss. So he remains at 3 secrecy. Okay, right, next up we are going to go for, I think we're going to go for Priorus. So Priorus is going next, so he goes onto the moon side. First thing he does is he loses a secrecy. He loses a secrecy because the Necromancer is present. So he's down to 5 secrecy. The next thing he's going to do is he's going to do Angry Guardian. Because let's just read the card again. Let's have a look at the card again. A bit difficult to get out of the way because there's no room. Right, let's read the card again. Someone stole a treasure from the care of a local guardian spirit. Give it a new treasure to placate it. And I was concentrating on the word treasure, but if you actually read the next bit, discard any item for 1 progress during your action phase in this location. 2 things, it just says during your action phase. You don't lose the action. If you remember opportunists from last turn, it's got action, 1 progress, so you had to lose an action. This card is not the same. This card just says during your action phase. So we're going to keep an eye on that, and we only have to discard an item. Let's have a look at the back of the rule book. Items. And there it is. Vanishing Dust is an item. But we can only do that during the action phase. So we'll just keep that there for a second. Whoop. And what we're going to do is obviously draw an event card first. Twilight. Compared to the darkness track, fortunately we're only on 2. 0 to 14, exhaust a power or lose 1 secrecy. Well, is there anything? Probably won't be using intercession. I'll exhaust intercession. So there we go, that's exhausted. So that's the event card dealt with. Now it's his action phase. So as part of his action phase, as just explained, he's going to give the Guardian the Vanishing Dust. The Guardian, he's probably been there hundreds, perhaps thousands of years. He's gone a bit doolally. Anything will do, any item. So Vanishing Dust is what he gets. Oh, that's pretty cool. And it means we do this, we get rid of it, and if we can pick it up, we get rid of it. So completed, all heroes gain a grace. Fam dabby dozy. No chat or anything around defaults. So his grace goes up to 6. Cassandra's grace goes up to 6. Talon's grace goes back up to 4. And Rathymnon's goes up to 4. Because as you see, it just says all heroes. Doesn't say anything about the location. So good stuff. So we can get rid of that. And because he didn't have to spend an action to do it, he can still do his action. What's he going to do? Well, he's going to move here to the swamp because he's looking for an epiphany. So there he is in the swamp. And obviously he's got to deal with the Wraith. Now, he's got to defend because it's the end of his turn. So needs a 4 to elude, because that's what he's going to try and do. So he's going to try and elude. And because he's in a combat, he's going to use Sanctuary, which is a tactic. Elude with 4 dice. We'll lose 1 secrecy if we succeed, but we just gained 1 by moving. So it'll just be no net gain. So 4 dice. And he does it. So he doesn't gain a secrecy. Well, he does. He gains a secrecy and he loses it. So he remains at 5 secrecy. That's worked. Top banana. And he's managed to avoid the raids. Coo. Right. So that's his go. Next up is, I think we'll have Cassandra next. So, Cassandra, what's she going to do? Well, first of all, she's going to lose a secrecy. So, she is now on, it's halfway between 4 and 5. I'll put her on 3 secrecy, but I think it might be 4. But just 3 secrecy she's on because of the Necromancer being present. She's not carrying a holy relic. We've got none of that start of turn instructions on power cards. So next up, event. Are there any good events? Right. Host of Haunts. Doesn't look like it, does it? Right, compare to secrecy, which is 3. So we get ghosts. Oh god, these look a right nightmare. So 6 defense or 6 elude. So she could sprint or she could charge. So get 2 dice either way on those. So and we still need to get a 6. So let's charge. Yeah, but he's not going to bloody run off. Not Cassandra. She's going to take him on. So, a tactic, she's going to fight with 2 die. So, let's get 2 dice. And we need a 6. Come on, Cassandra. Yes! Cassandra rocks! So, she doesn't lose a grace. Ho-ho! Woo! Right. So Cassandra deals with the event card because she's a star, and now what she's going to do is she is going to search, I think. Or is she? Let's have a think. The search difficulty is 3, so it is 50-50 chance. We could get rid of Dark Seed. So let's give it a go. So she's searching. We need a 3 or better. That's 6. She's on fire. Righto. So she would pick a map card, but she's not going to. She's going to draw 1 fewer map cards, which is 0. So Dark Seed is now completed. We've got rid of it, which is fantastic. So put that back in the box. And we can put this in the discard pile. Because it's completed, -1 on the darkness, so that's back to 1. Excellent stuff. So we'll discard that. So we've got rid of 2 quests this turn because we're on fire. Right, so that's the end of the turn. So we have Stigma. So again, it's just we've still got -2 to our default graces, but we don't have to defend against it at the end of the turn. The other one is Evil Presence. We just get -1 to eluding. Well, we didn't elude, so that was fine. And when the priest did his eluding, that was over at the swamp. It wasn't here at the village. So, good stuff. Right, so that's fine. Doesn't have to fight any of those. She can stay where she is, and that's the end of her turn. She didn't move, so she didn't get a secrecy. That was it. She just ended up losing a secrecy because she's next to the Necromancer. Okay, next up we have Talon. So let's turn him over to his moon side on the token. Here he is in the forest. He's not with the Necromancer. He hasn't got a Holy Relic. He's got no start of turn power card things. So he's good to go. First thing he gets is an event. A Dark Discharge. That sounds nice. So, what's this? -1 on the darkness track. So that goes to 0, which is good. But we've got to create a Blight in our location. Right. But, well, depending on the Blight. So let's get the map card. This is going into our location, which is the forest. And it is crows. So let me dig those out. Won't be a second. Okay. So we've got some crows. They've arrived. Here they are. So, end of turn effects. You can't fight them. Or can't defend against them. You've just got to elude them. Which isn't too bad for our Sunny Rogue. If we fail though, we lose 2 secrecy. If you try and defeat them, drive them off, then you need to get a 5, and you will lose 1 secrecy if you fail. That's when you attack them, as opposed to defend against them. So we have got a minor problem now. The minor problem being we've got 3 Blights in this location. If you remember, there's a maximum of 4 Blights in a location, and then they start tripping into the monastery. Not good. Now, I was hoping to move Talon over to the ruins, do a bit of searching, but you know what? We might have to get rid of some of these, I think. So, what's easiest? That's a 5. That's a 5. The flux cage is a 6. Now, if he chooses to fight, obviously he's going to lose a secrecy straight off, and that'll put him down to 4. He does have ambush, so he can spend another secrecy to fight with 3 dice. So essentially he'd end up on 3 secrecy, and he'd get 3 dice to get a 5 to get rid of one of these Blights. Or should I leave it and travel? There'll be no net gain if I travel, because remember we've got the flux cage. So what the secrecy I'd gain for moving, I'll lose because I leave this location that's got a flux cage. Decisions. Right, I'm going to leave it, and we're going to move. So he will travel. So travels over to the ruins. As I say, he doesn't get an extra secrecy because he loses it because of the flux cage. So no net loss or net gain. So he's now in the ruins. Let's just check Unholy Aura. So we're -1 fighting in the ruins because of the Unholy Aura, but we don't have to defend against it at the end of the turn. It's just a vile pall hanging over the ruins. So that's cool. So we've just got movement. He's gone here. End of the turn. Doesn't have to fight that. So that is the rogue's turn. Finished. Right-o. So everybody's had a go, apart from the Necromancer. Here, back again. Right, the Necromancer rolls his movement dice. Oh, a 5. I was really hoping that he'd get a very low number there. But the fact is, our knight is on 3 secrecy. He's not going to move. He is going to stay here because she's here. So he's not going to move at all. And that means we're in big trouble again, because wherever the Necromancer stops, he creates a blight. So let's get rid of that one. I'll pick the next map card. He's in the village, and we get spies. So I'll just go and dig those out. Won't be a second. So here we are with spies. So we've got another location that's got 3 blights in it. So spies, you lose 1 secrecy each turn. So we've got to fight them, and you'll lose a secrecy anyway. We may well have to start fighting some of these guys, because things are looking a bit grim on the blight front. We've let them get out of hand a bit. So we've got 3 in the village, 3 in the forest. Yes, got to sort them out, I think. Right, so Necromancer. Right, he's created his blight. So that's it. Yep, he's created his blight. That's that all done. So that is the end of the turn. Right-o. I shall pop away, upload this, have a cogitate on what I am to do. I think it'll have something to do with starting to get rid of blights. I think Cassandra's going to be very busy. Right, okie dokie. So next up is the turn review. I shall see you shortly. Hello everybody, welcome back to the turn review. So what happened? Well, our first player was Rathymnon, so let's get him on the sunny side up now. And what he did was, first of all, he had to deal with the dead servant as his event card. So if you remember, he got an archer, and he did manage to elude it. He activated invisibility, so that's still activated. That's why it's at the side of his sheet. His lightning strike is still exhausted. He's still got teleport, and he's now sat in the castle. He didn't get a secrecy because of the flux cage, but he did get a grace due to Priorus, as we'll see when we go through what he did. So who was next? Well, after Rathymnon, we had Cassandra. And the first thing Cassandra did was she had to deal with a host of haunts. So because of a secrecy, she had to deal with ghosts. But she was a beast, and she rolled a 6 because she's a lady. And brilliant. Managed to defend against the ghosts, so she didn't lose any grace whatsoever, so that was good stuff. Then she did a search action, but she didn't draw the card, and that meant that she could get rid of Dark Seed, which was excellent. So everybody, oh no, this was the one where we moved the darkness track down by 1, so it went down to 1, so that was cool. So that was a quest that we got rid of. Again, she didn't move, so she lost a secrecy because she started her turn with the Necromancer, but she did get an extra grace because of Priorus. So that was pretty cool. She managed to get rid of the quest, and she managed to survive the ghosts. So good stuff from Cassandra. A lot better rolling than she did last turn. Then after her, it was Priorus. And Priorus had a couple of things to do himself. First of all, he had to deal with Twilight. So it was not 14 on the darkness track. So he exhausted a power. And the power he exhausted was Intercession. So there we have, just pushed it forward. After he dealt with that event, what he had to deal with then was the Angry Guardian, and you have to discard an item. Vanishing Dust is an item, So we were able to put the required progress onto this quest and complete it. And because we completed that, all heroes got a grace. So that was fabulous. So good stuff. And let's flip that over. He's ready to go again. So his grace, he went up to 6. If you remember, he had sacrificed one for Cassandra previously. His secrecy went down because he started with the Necromancer in the village, and then he moved. He travelled to the swamp and ended his turn there, and he managed to elude the wraiths due to Sanctuary. So fabulous stuff from Priorus. Our final player was Talon. Here he is. Let's get him ready for next turn. And his event in the forest was he had to deal with the dark discharge. Now, it meant that the darkness track went down 1, so the darkness track is back at 0 now. But because of that, we have to create a blight in that location, which was a bit grim. So we created the blight, and the blight was crows. So there's now 3 blights in the forest. As mentioned during the game, any more than 4 in any location and they start tripping through to the monastery, and we don't want that happening. Now he could have stayed, but he decided, let's get to the ruins, because 1, he wants to search there, and 2, treasure hunt is there. And if we can really start rattling some of them clues on the clue track, we're in a good place. So he's decided to go for that. He's going to leave the blight killing to other heroes. So he moved over to the ruins. He didn't get a secrecy because he was leaving a location that had a flux cage in it. So the secrecy he would have gained, he lost because he left the location with the flux cage. So he ended up in the ruins with the unholy aura. He didn't have to defend against it. It just means he would lose a fight die should he fight. But he's Mr. Eluding, so that shouldn't be a problem. So his secrecy stayed at 5. However, he did get an extra grace, again because of Priorus, and so he moved up from 3 to 4, so got his grace back, so that's cool. Right, so that was it for him. He just moved to the ruins, and then it was the Necromancer. The Necromancer stayed in the village because he was with the knight who he spotted, so he knew Cassandra was in the village somewhere and he's staying there looking for her. So he created another blight. So in order to try and find Cassandra, so he can force a fight with her, he's put some spies in the village. So there are now 3 blights in the village as well, which is a bit grim. Right, so what we're going to do next turn? Well, that's a bit of a tricky one. I think Cassandra will go first. I'm not keen on her staying in the village or fighting a blight this turn, because pretty much the Necromancer is going to be following her about, I think. So what I'll have her do, she's going to lose another secrecy. She'll go down to 2 because she's starting with the Necromancer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move her to the mountains, which doesn't currently have a blight. Probably with 2 secrecy. Well, she'll move to the mountains, she will get an extra secrecy, so she'll go back up to 3. But in the mountains, there's a good chance the Necromancer is going to follow her. So we'll get a blight in the mountains, which won't be as bad, I don't think. So she will move to the mountains. We'll have to think up something else for getting rid of these blights. So she's going to move there. After her, I think we will have Talon. And what Talon will do is he'll search those ruins. So he'll search the ruins. We'll try and get some clues off the treasure hunt at the same time. We'll hopefully get another mystery card that will have another opportunity to get some clues, and we can start ramping up that clue track. So that's what Talon's going to do. Then we'll have Rathymnon. He's going to stay in the castle because he's going to try and get some powers. So we'll see if he can get an extra power. He's still got his teleport to zoom back to the monastery. He'll have to do that shortly because he'll have to refresh his power, his lightning strike, I think. But for next turn, he's going to stay in the castle and he's going to do that search for a supply cache, and hopefully he'll be able to get a new power. Pretty similar for Priorus. What Priorus is going to do is going to stay in the swamp again, and he's going to try and get an epiphany. So he's going to search, try and get an epiphany, and then he'll be able to pick a power of his choice. Then he'll probably have to deal with the raids, probably try and elude them again. So that's what he's going to do next turn. Okay, so that's it for turn 3 of Darkest Night. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're all going to join me for turn 4. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the subscriptions. Thank you very much for the watching and the views and the comments and all the tips and everything. So see you next time. Toodaloo.